Welcome to this Age of Empires forecasted game, and today we've got something special. We've got leenock spawning on the southwest in red, playing as the English civilization. And he's going to be going up against his opponent today, which will be Baltimore, also known as Demuslim, representing Team Liquid in blue as the Malians. The map is the Pit. Early aggression coming out here for leenock, already has that barracks, man at arms will be coming out soon, looking to pile on some pressure to this gold mine. And the Malians of course have this very specifically unique building to them, the pit mine. This is built over that gold vein, as you can see. Now will be generating gold passively for the Malians. This is something that, well, leenock is going to try and pressure with that early vanguard man at arms. And I really enjoy this matchup, the English versus the Malians. It's a very interesting one because of the fact that, well, the Malians have a unique unit that no other civilization have. That is the javelin thrower. That is a unique unit, very specifically countering the archer line units, whether it be longbows, chukunu, or just the standard archers. Now, of course, the English, they have the longbowmen with the extra range compared to regular archers, but they will be somewhat countered potentially by javelin throwers. And so the Malians, being played by Demusilim today, has a really nice advantage over that unit. We shall see how this one pans out because the English, of course, do have plenty of other options, whether it be man-at-arms, and of course in terms of strategies, that's what this game is about. We will be seeing whether, for instance, leenock decides to go for a two-town centre play, or whether the Malians will be going for a fast castle or a second town centre themselves. Now, the castle age for the Malians can be very strong, especially when they have access to that landmark, the Feudal garrison, which reduces the cost of their units and converts it to gold only. So they can produce units in batches of 5, only costing gold at a reduced rate as well. Now the English, though, they can be very formidable in defense with their network of castles bonus, enabling their units to fire faster and do more damage per second, as we see two man-at-arms slowly looking to torch down these Mali houses. And I'm sure this one will be on fire soon enough. In any case, talking about the map itself, the Pit, it's one of those maps that you can often have a very large stalemate. You can have very long-lasting maps, games rather, on this map. And it does suit the English, if in any case, because of course the English are very strong in the late game with their enclosures bonus from the mill, giving them the free gold coming in from the farms passively. We shall see if we ever reach that point in the game, because things are changing fast, and we say fast with 7 villagers building up that Saharan trade network. A very standard build order, a standard landmark to be chosen by the Malians these days, because of the fact that it acts as a defensive landmark and it can actually push these man-at-arms away and actually protect this gold vein. So it's a very nice landmark for the Malians. It will certainly be helpful for Demusilim to be able to itch towards that castle age, where the Malians arguably have a good power spike, but they are no strangers to a prolonged feudal age as well. So I'm really fascinated to see how Demusilim plays this one out, as we see the council hall, the landmark of choice there for leenock. No real surprises, going to be building that up with 4 villagers. So we'll be delayed to that next stage, perhaps going for a bit more of a macro approach as we see villagers coming out to wood now. We shall see if he actually goes for an early longbowman rush to follow up the man-at-arms, but of course investing in the man-at-arms, the vanguard man-at-arms, has delayed leenock's uptime a little bit, as we see now Demusilim reaching that next stage, the feudal age. This is where we will decide, or we'll see really, what Demusilim decides to do in terms of his progression in this game. He does have a lot of villagers on wood, now actually going for an archer range, so it will certainly be a feudal age kind of investment here into military, most likely javelin throwers to counter longbowmen that will probably come out there for leenock. We will see what leenock decides to do, because of course we discussed it earlier in the video in this beginning of this casted game that the Malians have access to that javelin thrower. Demusilim now moving over to the wood line, choosing to go for the shorter wood line, the smaller wood line there, rather than the big one at the back. And that could be because if he's pushed off this small one, he's got a place to retreat to potentially. We'll see how he plays this one out. Sends a villager now to rebuild the houses that were torched down, because he wants that passive gold generation again. We certainly see this with the Malians. They're often pushed away with 2 houses being burnt in the early game, and it's just a way for their opponents to pile on some pressure. But it is indeed javelin throwers being queued up here for Demusilim. So that preemptively getting a couple of those units, and be able to protect his wood line. So this is an interesting play. I wonder whether Demusilim will keep his javelin throwers at home to protect this wood line, rather will he go forward. And it certainly looks like it's going to be defensive, and can't begrudge him of that because, of course, the English will be coming through with their longbows soon, potentially. Although leenock hasn't actually produced any. Rather, I'm not sure if these were the initial man-at-arms, and I believe they will be because this one has been damaged. So rather than going for the longbows, it does appear that actually leenock is going for that stable. And this is where the scouting information is so crucial, because whilst it's very often that English open up with the longbows, coming up against the Malians, you've got to be careful about those javelin throwers. And so leenock has that presence of mind to scout that archery range, and instead he'll be going for horsemen. What remains to be seen is how aggressive leenock will be with those horsemen. Whether he decides to really push off villagers on the gold mine, it will need to be able to tank damage from the Saharan trade network if he decides that. As he starts to send a man-at-arms, he's actually adding in a couple of longbows as well, mixing it up a little bit. We'll need to be careful. I suspect Demusilim will see the army coming forward now. He'll be aware of this. He may look to actually send his army forward, and he does exactly that. There are the javelin throwers, 4 of them. Will certainly make quick work against that longbow. Not enough to one-shot, but very close to it. And there is the horseman, going to chase in behind, but of course Demusilim looking to keep those units alive for as long as possible. Returns home with his javelin throwers as another one pops out as well, and I mean, they don't do too badly against the horsemen even. Probably 4 shots them with this number of them, and the horseman is going to be very low on health and actually dies there. And that just leaves the man-at-arms, and now Demusilim could probably be aggressive here with his units. And certainly in the early game so far, with the feudal age as it is, the Malians certainly getting the better damage really. The scout is keeping an eye on those man-at-arms, doing some damage himself, and behind this we'll need to look at the macro, because we do see wheelbarrow coming in, double broadaxe as well for leenock. Getting the wood upgrades will really help him produce those longbows if he decides to do that, but of course it's very difficult to do that when you're coming up against the javelin throwers. As we see villagers coming out now to gold, Demusilim very happy to send villagers out to gold now that he has some sort of map awareness in the middle, and he knows that he shouldn't be under any sort of pressure really. Approaching the 8-minute mark into the game, does have now 7 villagers in gold, and it does appear that, well, Demusilim is opting for that castle age time behind this. Getting the cattle onto the field as a source of food, 500 food. It's very nice, costs 100 gold from the mill, and that will really supplement that food income for Demusilim to get to that next stage. As you can see, almost there. It needs 1,200 food and 600 gold. We'll be there soon. It appears that feudal age is probably going to be passing us now, at least for the Malians. We see horticulture coming in, so eco upgrades here for leenock. Both players do have 30 villagers apiece. Continues to produce those javelin throwers there. Demusilim wants to keep that wood line alive and protected. Keeping the javelin throwers, he recognises this is the exposed part. This is something strategically that, of course the top players will be doing naturally, just to protect their key and unprotected resources. For example, this wood line. Everything else actually Demusilim has very nicely protected. The Saharan trade network protecting the villagers on gold, and of course the town centre protecting the villagers on the cattle. So we now see 9 villagers looking to build up that Furimba garrison very close to home, within the range of the town centre, so there's no real way for leenock to punish this, at least with in terms of denying it. And we even see Demusilim going towards the central pit mine to get even more gold in generating passively, building those houses. So if you are new to Age of Empires 4, you might be wondering, why is he building houses specifically around the pit mine? Well, that's because the pit mine, the gold generation income is actually increased by houses and mining camps. Looks to try and wall this middle, but doesn't actually quite manage it. The horsemen going to break through and move in to try and do some damage against those villagers, but it doesn't really quite have enough here, leenock. He won't want to dive in too much because there are quite a significant number of javelin throwers who will be able to do some damage. Trying to torch down those houses, but the javelin throwers with the range can do some damage against the horsemen. Horsemen are going to push forward a little bit, but I wouldn't be surprised to see some donsos coming out. In fact, it's going to be more javelin throwers here for the Malians. Going to be heading towards that town centre. leenock diving in a little bit too deep there, you feel. Looks like he's going to lose all his horsemen. Going to try and take some valuable HP off the javelin throwers, but yeah, he certainly dived in a bit too deep there. Lost 2 horsemen possibly a third, and he does lose that third one as well. So not a very good trade there for leenock in total. And Demusilim will be very, very happy about that as he now looks to get his upgrade to the veterancy for the javelin throwers. He might even consider sending some villagers to finish this wall because there's not a lot left, and that is indeed the case. Sending 2 of them there. Do see some javelin throwers again. 5 of these javelin throwers just popped out of the Feudal garrison. Nothing else queued up just yet there for Demusilim. Doesn't quite have the resources. We'll need some more gold. Is certainly getting gold coming in though. 600 per minute almost, and not much action elsewhere. Farming transition coming in there for leenock. Has actually opted for a second town centre as well. So leenock going to be booming behind this, looking to try and build up that economy. Does have a bit of a lead now at 43 villagers versus 37. And a nice farming transition coming in. Bit of an awkward placement for this batch of farms, a little bit further forward than perhaps you'd like. But it is cramped for room here actually. So what's super interesting about this matchup and the fact that the Malians are now in the Castle Age is that this gives a window of opportunity for Demusilim to think about getting those relics. Of course, his opponent, being in the Feudal Age, has no scope to get them. Instead, just for now, Demusilim will be looking to put a bit of pressure on the front lines. Does have that scout, lost a lot of HP, but scouts do regenerate health as the horsemen now actually managed to get around the other side and will be looking to take out 2 villagers, but there are javelin throwers. It'll be interesting to see who actually wins this. With some micro here, Demusilim might save them. He's actually going to bring the javelin throwers on the other side of the wall. Even gets a good shot off against the horsemen. Horsemen are going to go towards those villagers again. Villagers retreat, but the 4 horsemen rather, going to be a bit of a nuisance. Does take care of one of those villagers. Probably might just about, okay, almost did. Didn't actually end up getting that villager in the end. It's going to lose valuable HP now though. So you now see some Musafadi warriors coming out of the barracks. In fact, actually they came out of the Feudal garrison rather. It's going to produce even more Musafadi warriors. And these are very special units. They can actually enter a stealth mode for the Malians. And we'll be interested to see if he actually uses that to good effect with these stealth forests around the map. But behind this, with the second town centre now up and running and pumping there for leenock, village count really starting to build, so you feel like Demusilim needs to do some damage here. Does have the tech advantage, the veterancy of the javelin throwers. It does appear like he's struggling to push in a little bit here. Is getting some upgrades, just got the veterancy to the Musafadi warriors, and is also going to get military academy to produce units even faster. Hasn't yet moved out to this northern gold mine for the pit mine. Trying to put pressure on, but the horseman numbers here really starting to build up for leenock. This is a nice attack. Despite being Feudal Age horsemen, will do a bit of damage, but with good kiting here, Demusilim does fantastically well, and the Musafadi warrior is going to tank. There are longbows. Musafadi warriors are very prone to being killed by those longbows. The trouble for leenock though is that he needs a mixed army composition, because the javelin throwers are holding the key here. Javelin throwers are certainly dictating the fight, because the longbows can't get close. Not with the javelin throwers there, and the javelin throwers are going to push in a little bit deeper. Certainly good numbers of military coming out there for leenock. It's going to push in now with the horsemen. Horsemen focusing on the javelin throwers. A couple of Musafadi warriors, longbows in behind trying to focus on the Musafadi warriors, but doing that pretty well. But the veterancy for the Musafadi warriors, giving them a bit of a tankiness to them, will be taken out, and now the military is dwindling there for Demusilim, setting himself up for the economy to build up behind this. Look at this, so many villagers on that gold mine. Really gold heavy, this civilization, the Malians, and that's all pretty much cleared up there for leenock. Could potentially look to be aggressive himself, and certainly without actually getting the relics, it does feel like the Castle Age hasn't necessarily given him all that much just yet. And speaking of relics, there is the mosque. Going to be seeing those imams popping out very soon to grab hold of those relics, but with a little bit more of a map presence here for leenock now, he might look to put on some pressure, maybe get some map control back. We'll see how aggressive leenock wants to be. He knows that he's on 2 town centre. He's certainly confident that he will have the villager lead, and it's such a nice farming transition. I suspect a little bit of a stoppage of production here for leenock will help him get to that next stage. You can see he's reducing stables from horsemen rather from 3 stables, getting 1,300 food per minute compared to the 300 food per minute from Demusilim. Demusilim looking to wall up, and This is actually looking very nice here for leenock. We talked about the defensive strategy, defensive capabilities of the English. And the fact that Demusilim, despite being an age up with the tech advantages, hasn't been able to put so much pressure. That's a problem for Demusilim, because now leenock has that boom, he has the villager lead, resources will be coming in very, very fast for him. And he'll be able to sustain a lot of production. And he just needs to hold production just for a minute or two, and he'll be able to afford, well, literally a minute, and he'll be able to more than afford that castle age. Of course, he won't want to stop production because, of course, we've talked about it on the channel before, when you do age up in a situation like this, that's when you're vulnerable. leenock will want to be making sure he has a good standing army to be able to protect his age up, because if he does, or when he does get to the castle age, that'll be the signal for Demusilim to put some pressure. See the horsemen going onto that wood line there, putting on a little bit of pressure, but the units there for Demusilim in the right spots. Javelin throwers picking off those horsemen, and the javelin throwers being able to do so much damage even to horsemen is really quite scary actually. Trying to make out with those horsemen. Did get some damage in terms of idle time. I'm not sure if he got any villager kills, but certainly idle time will help, and he's going to be blocked in this way though. Need to make his way around, and will Demusilim actually just split half his army to trap them in? He is sending some units this side. 5 javelin throwers going to head towards... Oh yeah, these horsemen are gone. That's unfortunate there for leenock. I mean, he might survive with 1 or 2, but these guys are going down. No. Oh god, the damage coming out of that is incredible. Especially the fact that he has steeled arrow there. Okay, but behind this, do see leenock going for that King's Palace, acting as a third town centre in a very safe and secure spot. And so with the extra villager advantage, that villager lead is going to build even further, and maybe looking to get stone for a keep. And he's really playing the economy card here. That's a problem for Demusilim. Demusilim needs to put some pressure, because he won't want the game to last too much longer. Because if it does go to that super late game, this late Imperial Age game, the English certainly will be very, very strong with the enclosures upgrade from the mill. Of course, the Malians do have trade that they could possibly rely on, but there is that castle age for leenock. And we talked about it, how that could be a signal for Demusilim to be aggressive. But I have to say, leenock should be in a decent position to defend himself. Building a gate here, and that signals the attack that's probably coming in for the Malians. The east side horseman breaking down that gate is on fire, will break through, making sure that Demusilim has to split up his army a little bit somewhat, and I like what leenock's doing. He's keeping his army forward, just making sure that he has that age up and has time for upgrades to come in. Speaking of upgrades, he will be getting decarbonization, the second melee attack upgrade, as well as the veterancy for the horseman. And that's going to be important. He'll be able to match technology now to his opponent. Heading towards the east side now that he has broken through the gate. Well, as I say, that gate has been rebuilt there for Demusilim. Decent number of horsemen there. Doesn't want to engage against the veteran Donsos. Wants to lead in with the longbows in behind just about. Will perhaps look to put some pressure. Almost baiting the Donsos to come out towards those longbows. Doesn't quite fall for it there, Demusilim. And he's going to try and torch down the gate. There is a spring-hold emplacement in this toll outpost. So we're doing extensive damage to the horsemen. We do see some reinforcements coming in. A lot of javelin throwers there for the Malians. Looks like the toll outpost is going to be attacked now. Will he get the upgrade in? Or just a couple of seconds? It does come in just about, but most of it is damaged already, so I don't think that was worth it in the end there for Demusilim. There's a lot of Donsos. Those Donsos need to be taken apart by the veteran archers, the longbows rather. Horsemen need to focus on the javelin throwers. This is going to come down to micros, really important. The longbows need to take down those veteran Donsos. Horsemen engaging against the Musafadi warriors, but they're being ripped apart by the Donsos, and it looks like leenock has to pull back. He does. He gets out of there, but not without casualties. He lost quite a lot. Look at the military numbers, 52 for Demusilim versus 35, and Demusilim should look to push this back, and leenock is on retreat. It is building up a secondary force back at home to add in. The Donsos is going to be a concern. Longbows picking those Donsos up, as 1 or 2 of them are now starting to fall down, but the longbows are behind, the javelin throwers are behind. The longbows are starting to dwindle. It looks like man-at-arms. This is a very nice play here. I like the man-at-arms addition, because there aren't that many Musafadi warriors. It looks like it's Donso javelin throwers here for the Malians, and Both the Donsos and the javelin throwers are pretty squishy to the man-at-arms. It's the Musafadi warriors that leenock will need to be careful if they join the fight. The horseman getting a good surround, and that is a painful engagement there for Demusilim. He can't really get out of there without taking significant losses. Javelin throwers, oh, they focused on a deer there for a second. That was painful. Lost a lot of damage potential, and those javelin throwers are absolutely melting. A couple of Musafadi warriors heading into the front lines, but they are very late to the fight, and where were they a few minutes ago? They were needed, but they weren't around. Now the horsemen should be able to sweep this up, and this is where the superior economy really starts to kick in for leenock. Look at that, 107 villagers to 80, and look at the military count, 56 to 9. Income here, incredible for leenock. 2,000 food per minute versus 250. That keep is looking to be put up there by Demusilim. I'm not sure if it'll go up. It might just about manage it. We'll have to see, because the gate is being burnt. Horsemen walk in, they ride in, looking to do some damage. He's going to engage. The keep will go up, but not without losses. As I say that, yeah, the keep will go up, but he will lose a couple of villagers. Looks like he had textiles, so didn't lose all that many. Horsemen going to head in towards taking out some of the javelin throwers that are remaining. And looks like leenock might just camp here, take out the units, and then retreat. We'll see. He might even just go straight in. He might just bypass and go straight into the heart of that base for Demusilim. Demusilim's economy very exposed. Only has 8 military. We'll need a couple siege engines, you feel. Maybe a trebuchet or 2 here, the English, to take care of that keep. But he's just diving right in anyway. And he's going to get huge value here, because this economy is completely unprotected. Trade has been set up, but this is a little late now, because you feel like this trade is very exposed without the defenses. They don't have too many static defenses, not that many tall outposts, at least not in the central area, and the horsemen are going to take out a lot of the traders, the longbows as well. Bololo coming out, looking just to distract, might pick out 2 horsemen, doesn't quite manage it. The veteran archers, the veteran longbows do take out that imam, and now the relic is sitting outside the mosque. Looks like behind this as well, the economy is so strong for leenock, he's managing to go up to the next stage with the Wingard Palace. He will be going up to the Imperial Age, and the trade is being decimated. Those traders going down very quickly. Look at the beautiful farms out there for leenock. There's that Wingard Palace, nice and safe and secure. They position that well. Demusilim has no real way to access just yet at all, really. He needs to stabilize at home. He needs to find a way against these longbows. They've got to this kind of disastrous mass, and there's that Imperial Age upgrade coming in. Demusilim behind both economy, both military, and with regards to tech as well. He is an age behind in the Castle Age with no real sign of being able to make it to the Imperial Age. Does have plenty of gold, keeping the Farimba garrison working. It needs to keep it quicker, you feel, because, well, he is floating a lot of gold, and when you're under this sort of pressure, it's very difficult to equalize your economy. They need to use the market a little bit to rebalance, and we see a keep in the middle, going to give a very strong strategic point to attack from in the middle of the pit. We also see enclosures coming in there for the English. That's that farming technology we talked about, giving them the passive gold for the farms that are worked by villagers. 1 gold every 3.5 seconds. Stone walls coming out for the Malians, but he's going to need to be extensive about it. He's walling on the west. Has just the palisades on the east. Does have the keep. He'll need to build up that trading economy again. Does have a decent number of traders. Has a lot of markets. Holy smokes. Has a lot of trade coming in. You feel like he needs that income coming in fast. He's got plenty of gold. It looks like he traded some. He's going to keep using the Farimba garrison, of course, to keep up the units. Does have 15 units on the field now. You feel it's not quite enough just yet. Needs to bide himself some time, but, well, the static defenses of the stone walls will certainly give him some time to really build up the military again, but we shall see if it's enough. He's losing that central pit mine, but that's the least of his worries here for Demusilim. Speaking of relics, does have a few in the bank. Did manage to get 4 of them. He's going to get a defensive keep in the middle, looks to try and protect that area. Will we see a couple of trebuchets for leenock? That looks like it's going to be the next phase of the attack to add siege engines, as the javelin throwers do hop on top of the stone walls. The west side. Keep going on the west side there for leenock as well. He feels confident dragging this onto the late game, and, well, why not when you're playing as the English? Demusilim holding on for now, building up the economy again. Does have 93 economy units on the field. Although, I'm not sure if that counts the traders, actually. In any case, he does have a decent economy building up. Still, of course, very behind Leenock, and Leenock's going to push in with the superior military soon, you feel. Looks like he's almost waiting for a trebuchet to come out. That is exactly what's happening. Because the counterweight trebuchet will be coming out for the English, and Leenock in the middle of the map is getting some crucial Imperial Age upgrades with biology, and also it looks like the elite upgrade for the horseman. That's going to be very difficult for Demusilim to stop, especially with him still being in the castle age. Sending in a Imam, that's actually very optimistic. He will lose that Imam, of course, and behind this though, Demusilim doesn't look anywhere near getting to the next stage. He's getting a couple of these passive incomes coming in from the cattle ranches, but we'll need to start building more of those, that's for sure. Really struggling on the food income. You can see 3,000 food coming in per minute for the English and Leenock. Only 400 coming in per minute for Demusilim. Central Sacred Site has been captured now. 2 trebuchets on the field, and yeah, certainly looks like Leenock wants to pressure the issue. He wants to put some pressure in this middle area. Going to be looking to take down this stone wall gate. Demusilim just trying to bide as much time as he can. He needs more time to stay alive here. The javelin throw is going to stay on top of the walls. Horseman heading in, going to be going through past that keep, you feel. Boiling oil is there. Trebuchet's in behind. Looks like he's going to try and torch this down, and well, why not? When you have biology and you have the elite upgrades for these horsemen, he's going to head in straight through. Villagers trying to repair. Longbow's going to be looking to maybe focus them down. In fact, looks like he's focusing. Yeah, he is certainly focusing on villagers. A couple of Malians focusing on the javelin throws. They're heading up the walls to fight on the walls. The horsemen head in. They're going to be taking down the cattle ranches, and the longbows in behind to snipe any Donsos that might be popping out. But Demusilim really struggling to hold this push. He's repairing the keep, but with 2 trebuchets he needs to find a way. There are a couple of units here, a couple of veteran Musafadi warriors going to be trying to take down the trebuchets. Horsemen are trying to snipe them out. Doesn't look like that trebuchet will be taken down. That one survives for now. That's a problem, because Demusilim really needed to take care of that trebuchet. Instead, the trebuchet still unfolds and is hurling those boulders on that keep, and the horsemen now heading towards the cattle ranches. This is food that really Demusilim is suffering from. He doesn't really have that much food coming in, and those cattle ranches were helping him significantly. He's going to look to re-wall this up on the west side. That keep is just focusing on that palisade wall. Nothing too major. Looks like the scholar wasn't quite in the right spot there. Taking the engagement with the horsemen against the Musafadi warriors. Looks like Demusilim is opting to get to that next age though with the fort of the Huntress. He wants that tech advantage that the Imperial Age gives, and it's going to be put into a nice spot. Building up 9 villages. Does have decent military backup again here, Demusilim. Courtesy of course of the Farimbra garrison. And has teched into veteran software as well. So doing quite nicely to stay alive, that's for sure. Taking down those units for Leenock. But you can just see with the economy there, Leenock so strong with the food income. There's that new age for Demusilim. Looking to get survival techniques. I suspect it kind of works for the cattle, I suspect. But with the sacred site timer now activated, Leenock has the central sacred site and the east and the west, and is protecting it with keeps, and that's going to be difficult for Demusilim to push out from. Needs to stop that somehow. Needs to stop the timer, because it will be 10 minutes, 9 minutes 38 seconds left on. You can see the whole host of upgrades coming in. Getting the elite upgrades to the man at arms, that'll be difficult for Demusilim to deal with. Now the reason why the man at arms will be particularly difficult to deal with for Demusilim is because, of course, the Malians do not get the crossbow unit. And so in the late game, the man at arms certainly a very nice play here by Leenock. Something very difficult for the Malians to counter. And he's going to head in now with the incendiary arrows upgrade for those longbows. He's going to head towards that primary town centre. Might be looking to just do some damage against the units and bring the siege in as well. He does have 3 trebuchets as they unpack now, unfolding on the fort of the Huntress. And you know, as he building, that will be going down pretty soon against the English trebuchets. Longbows in behind, horsemen acting as a meat shield with a couple of spears in between as well. And it does look like Demusilim's going to struggle to hold on here. Has around about half the army military numbers. Villagers coming out to build up that fort of the Huntress again. The army certainly pressing in here for Leenock. Demusilim trying to hold on, but as he holds on, that ticker timer is ticking away for the sacred site. Villagers trying to repair that keep, that fortress of the that fort of the Huntress, but now there's a fourth trebuchet coming out, and you feel like that is going to be the nail in the coffin. With this fort going down, there's not a lot standing in the way of leenock's English army against the Malians on the pit. Units still coming out in batches of 5 from that Farimba garrison. Units really going up against each other here though. And Demusilim does lose that landmark, the fort of the Huntress, and that's a problem for him, that's for sure. He's starting to push this back slightly, but you feel like he's going to struggle to push this back entirely, especially with the economy. The economy looking strong though for Baltimore though. Demusilim picked up on the villager count despite all this pressure, which is actually quite, it's quite impressive to do that with this amount of pressure coming in. Units still streaming though in for the English and leenock, and does look to try and build up that fort of the Huntress again. He's building up slowly but surely, but spending precious resources in order to do so. Trebuchet still firing off, and units still streaming in there for leenock, looking to now take out the Farimba garrison. That's a big problem. Losing the Farimba garrison means he won't be able to produce those units quick time for gold. And now the trebuchets again focus on the fort of the Huntress, and there just seems to be no way for Demusilim to take out these 4 trebuchets, and the repair cost itself is so costly. And the knights coming in to try and cut off the cavalry coming in for the Malians. The Sofa aren't quite enough. The trebuchets still focusing on the fort of the Huntress. Villagers frantically trying to repair. And you feel like this is going to start to overrun here. Demusilim only on 13 military. And there it is. Demusilim taps out. And it is leenock's English army that reigns supreme on the pit.